Hey traders, Leaf West. I actually did a video on on Screener that failed to load, and so I was walking people through this trade, this sort of short from the top that I actually got short at 134.99, and I'm short right now. But I'll just try and walk people through it again and redo this video kind of. In essence, we made a ABC structure into a 50% retracement level into the C target zone. And I was telling people in an earlier video, which posted, but I think it's having a hard time loading, is you have to wait for a turn signal. And the turn signal, if you look at the 1 minute chart, is for the lower ATR support level to be taken out, and then for price to bounce and either take out the upper resistance level and make a marginal new high or a lower high, and then roll over again and take out the second green lower ATR support level. And I said what also could happen was price could come break this level, this lower support level for the first time, and then bounce and fail to get through the upper resistance level, which is what I was looking for price to do as it pull up here. And sometimes it'll actually touch it to the penny, but I set my stop, or not stop, but my limit order on this short at 134.99, and that's where my stop is now. And it looks like we're going to get jammed here into the close, maybe. But anyways, so that's where my stop is. But that's how I played this trade. And the flip side was, I said if you wanted to, you could wait for the break of this 3 minute ATR. But I didn't like playing the break of support. I'd rather short price the ETF, Spider ETF, as it moved into resistance, where I could sort of have a better entry level. Because the last thing you want to do is short on the break of this ATR and then have price do what it's doing right now. So what do? Um, do you did you actually buy it at the low of a smaller ABC, the bigger A? Remember, in my earlier video, I did this. I did saying that the problem with breaking of shorting and the break of that 3 minute ATR is that you could do exactly this. You could break it and then move up in a B, and then move lower in a bigger C. So this would be A, this would be B, and this would be C. Because again, there's smaller waves inside of bigger waves, right? So I said that's the problem with looking to short or break of this 3 minute ATR, and that you could have some heat right away. Whereas if you short it where I shorted, and I had my stop above this, I had my stop at 135.15, that at least you got some room up here. And so in theory, once we took out this low here, I moved my stop down, because if we bounce here as part of a bigger B, I'll get taken out, but I'll look to re-enter on a rollover here. But at least I'm not going to keep my stop up at 135.15 if that was the low, if that was ABC. And now we go and we make a new marginal high, which we could still, right? Because this is only 50%. This is 61.8, so this is the area where we should see resistance on price. So we're guessing that this is the high of this counter trend move, and we're looking for a turn pattern. So that's all we're trying to do here, is trying to find a turn pattern. And right now, if you look on the 1 minute chart, right, we failed to break the overhead ATR earlier. Then we made a new low, and now we're failing at that same measurement parameter, that ATR. So that's a good sign. So again, my stop is at my entry at 134.99, and we'll see if this trade. I'm gonna try and hold this trade into the close. Anyways, I'll come back. I'm gonna pause and I'll come back and try and wrap it up once we either get stopped out or else we go into the close. It's about 12 minutes after 3 o'clock Eastern. All right, so I'll be back in a few minutes. Okay, so I was just stopped out of my trade. I'm not sure what the trade is for the rest of the day. I'm just not going to probably trade it. It still could stay below the 3 minute ATR resistance line here, and I might have just been sort of silly to move my stop to break even. But I just didn't trust this move. If we were going to push lower and get some really heavy selling, we would have kept on going lower after breaking below this ATR. And the fact that it couldn't go lower means that we're going to have to try and push higher. And we may have enough people trying to short this thing to squeeze into the close and even go much higher. We could go. Let's look where it could go. If we reverse extend this decline, 135.22. So even my stop at 15 would not have been safe there in that respect. So I made some good money earlier on the spiders and Apple trade. So I'm not. That's why I lowered my. In part one of the reasons why I lowered my stop down to entry after we came down to this level. Now, we should not have bounced as hard as we did. But we will see. If you can see on the 1 minute chart, we've made a corrective pattern move higher here, so we could find that this is the high. Again, it's 135-ish area. The high of this candle was 135. So now if we were to come down and break this low, should I short that? In theory, that's right. Because then that's A, and then this is B, and then bigger move C, right? The easiest trade is always the B to C, because picking this top is really hard. Like, people who are back here were thinking this was the top when price is pulling back a little bit, so they got short and then they got squeezed out. That's why I don't like sort of sitting there passively, sitting on my stop level if we haven't proven that we're going to move lower. And really, we hadn't done that yet. All we'd done was done an ABC corrective move into support, right into that support area on the ATR. I'll pause here again. It's about 3:20 right now Eastern time. So we'll try and follow this through. Yeah, see how we're on the 3 minute chart here on the bottom. We have the volume zone oscillator and we're making higher lows here. So I think we're going to push up into the close, but I'm not going to, for the few pennies, I'm not going to try and trade it. Yeah, you can see it just doesn't want to go lower. I don't think that was a pretty fail-proof sign that the market didn't want to go lower when it bounced so quickly after completing its ABC into that level. And it wants to go higher here, so once it gets above 135, it's probably gonna catch some stops on people that were putting their stops right above 135. So that'll push it up to the prior highs, which will catch the stops, which will push it up to maybe into that 1.618 bigger target for C, 135.25. So let's just, that's 25 cents potentially. That's marginal in terms of a profit target, but if you did that with a 10 cent stop, you'd have 85. Yeah, I don't think that's not very good. I'd rather, if I was going to get long here, I'd want my stop below this level, kind of at 78, and that's not 20, 30. Yeah, it's borderline scalp, but it does look like it wants to go higher. So just stay tuned here for a sec. All right, so price is squeezing here. You can see this bright lime green candle on the 3 minute chart is breaking the ATR. There's my audio pop-up alert. So what happens there is once price on this candle closes beyond that level, then it paints a new support level now, and so now support is the condition. Previously, resistance was a condition. So now we're going to take out these stops here, probably push up to this 25 cent level. But again, the volume zone oscillator on the 3 minute chart is back to zero, so it's critical it gets above that and shows that it can hold above that, because often what price will do in a downward trending market, even on intraday charts like this, is it'll get up to around zero and then it'll just roll over. So it's key that so we're going to take out some stops here. That chime you heard was my tick chart, which when it hits 800, 800 or minus 800, and that's kind of at levels that are beyond the local sort of general noise that you get in the market, that tells me that there's pressure. There's buying. People are hitting the people are buying on the offer side of the market. That's what ticks measure, right? They measure the amount of trades that are done on the bid side and on the offer side. And obviously, when there are more trades being done on the offer side, that's a bullish signal, and that's a bullish or a positive sign on the tick market. That's when you get up to sort of 800 plus 800 plus 1,000, all the way up to sometimes 1,200, 1,500. And flip side, when you hit people hitting the bid, there's selling pressure, and you'll get to negative 800, negative 1,000, negative 1,200, negative 1,500 kind of levels. Again, 1,500 levels are extreme, so that's kind of flash market conditions. So maybe I should have wrote that. Obviously, here we're at 25, and the market is squeezing, right? So it's getting all these people had stops here. Everybody tried like me to get short, and that's why I moved my stops down, because we got to the potential ABC, right? We can go ABC, then make a new high, or you can go ABC of an A, and then come up and roll over. And this is what you don't want to have happen. Is it to fly in your face? We could have a nice little. Here's a 61.8 level up here, 135.44. Let's go get this chart over here so you can see what's going on the 1 minute chart. Right, so you don't step in front of this. You have to see the buying pressure come off before you try to do anything. And I wouldn't even, if I was long, I wouldn't even sell it yet. It doesn't show me that. If we get a small candle here now, then I'd consider selling, because we had a upper leg to this candle, this 1 minute candle. Now, if we can't take out the high, I would sell up here now. If I'd bought down here when we were breaking this 1 minute ATR, right? When we were making this little bullish flag pattern here, that was the place to get long, right? Right at the bottom of the volume zone oscillator on the 1 minute chart. And now I'd raise my stop for sure to the bottom of this candle, 135.24. And I would keep keep following these candles higher now, because we're getting a smallish doji candle in this area where there's sellers beat price back down a little bit. So unless the buyers come in here and show that it can drive through that high, this is probably the top for the move. And that's right at the 1.618 target of this reverse extension of this pullback. So, again, it's a logical spot for a price to finish doing what it's going to do. Here, I'll pause here in a second. I'll come back and we'll see what happened. Okay, now I would be selling my holding here. We're making these small candles, and I just don't think with this big push higher. Who knows? We're up. The 61.8 is right above us, and again, the 61.8 is from the close on Friday to today's low. So that's a perfect spot for price to end doing what it's going to do in terms of a bounce into resistance. So you're really being aggressive. You assume that price can push through this, because this was a big emotional gap lower today. So that people are going to take notice of that. So you're going to get some people lightening up on their stocks on the bounce. And so even if this is the low for the next several days, you probably are going to get some kind of pullback. And then if we want to go higher, we'll go higher after that. Right? No, see, we couldn't push down any lower. So, if you'd done that would have been still pretty good profit on a scalp trade. 31. Well, we'll just try and hang on here. I'll come back in a minute. Okay, so it hit the 61.8 fib resistance level, and now it's sort of backing off. You can see on the 1 minute chart we made a shooting star, and then we've got this really is what it is a dark blue candle. You can see that we're above the 100% level. So these last three bars are dark blue, but they're painted whitish blue because the price is so far away from the ATR, the daily ATR. I'm sorry, the 1 minute ATR, because the 1 minute chart. So the white blue, the whitish blue color gets painted over top of the dark blue, and the pink divergence dots are painted when actually the strength of that trend is declining. So that's what's happened here. That shows you there's divergence up to this level. So I would be, if I was long here, for sure, I think this is most likely all we're going to get into the close. But there's still 23 minutes left to go, so we could pull back and then push higher. But as I'll cut off the video there, I just wanted to show you in live action that the trade that I was involved in, and hope you got something from that. Okay, take care, guys. Hey traders, Leaf West. Just to wrap this video up, or wrap this sort of trade up that I did, where I got short and then I got stopped, and then I decided not to take the long setup because I just didn't think the profit potential was there, and in retrospect it was there. So I want to show you here on the 3-minute chart on the left hand side, price did push up to the 61.8, and typically when you get these bigger, more important levels like support and resistance levels, versus these wave targets on the intraday moves, these bigger support levels and resistance levels are more important, and it's quite normal for price to extend through targets to reach for an important level. So that's what's kind of happened here. You know, earlier we had our ABC target, which is kind of why I was looking for a turn pattern up here, and it did turn, but it only turned into an ABC correction, a bigger correction than, say, this, if you go back to these other minor highs. And that was a swing low, and we pushed up to a new high. But again, if you extend, so if I take this one out, which was our bigger ABC target, and if I just extend out this prior correction higher, this was our target, right? And we push through that, which typically you'll get at least into that zone. We pushed through that because of 61.8, I believe, because the 61.8 level was just above it. So I think it's pretty normal looking how price pushed through those targets. And if you look at the volume zone oscillator, this just goes to show you, here's divergence, right? Here's a peak above the 40 level, pull back, another push up in price. We didn't have the volume to push and make a new high, so we pulled back, and you can see it even more so on the 1 minute. On the 1 minute chart, near the volume zone oscillator, we made a double top, a slightly lower double top on this shooting star candle, divergence, pink divergence dots, pull back, another push higher, and again slight divergence on this bounce on its own, but a bigger divergence when you compare it to the previous high in price. And now we're pulling back. So that was, if you're hanging on, hope that this would get taken out and get squeezed out at the top going into the close, this was your sign to probably take profits in that 40-cent level. And the market's going to close in 2 minutes. So that's all I want. I just wanted to add that sort of wrap up for this video, so you could sort of see. Well, I'll just pause and I'll wait till the market closes before I just sign off. Hang on. So price is pushing lower into the close. People that played long, the bounce long today, are probably taking some profits into the close. Again, so there's that divergence. That's what you look for when you're intraday trading. Just look for divergences, positive at the bottom. Like if we go back to the bottom here, we can see positive divergences in the volume zone oscillator, right? Hello, tonight's main event. Market is closed, obviously. And so that's it. All right, guys, take care.